Hello, and welcome to a video about coordinates of the unit circle. Now, what we did in the past few lessons is we looked at the angles of the unit circle, which is just one way to identify a location. Another way is the coordinates. The way we find the coordinates is we focus on those 30, 45, 60-degree reference angles and create points that way. Let's check out 30. So for our 30-degree angle, what we like to think about is about a 30, 60, 90 triangle. In a 30, 60, 90 triangle, there's a specific formula to take a look at the different values it could be, but right now we're looking at a unit circle, so technically our x in our formula is 1. So the distance between a 30 and a 60-degree angle is 2. Between 30 and a right angle is a root 3 distance, and between a right angle and 60 degrees is 1. This is how our point will be set up. We will still use the horizontal distance as our x. And we will still use the vertical distance as our y. The denominators here are going to be the hypotenuse. All right. Next is our 45-degree reference angle. Right. When we have a 45-degree reference angle, we get a 45, 45, 90 triangle. This is another one of those great right triangles that has a particular formula to it. But right now, we're just plugging in a 1 because it is a unit circle. Okay. The distance here is 1, so it is there. And here, it's the square root of 2. We're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to use the x's and the y's to fill this in. So the base is 1, the hypotenuse is root 2, the height is 1, the hypotenuse is root 2. Let's color code that real quick. Now, it is not correct in mathematics to leave a root on the bottom. So let's change 1 square root of 2 into a more proper fraction by multiplying the top and bottom by the square root of 2. On the top, 1 times root 2 is root 2. On the bottom, the square roots cancel, and we actually are just left with a single 2. So really, this point is root 2 over 2, comma, root 2 over 2. And we're going to use that one because it's more proper. Now let's continue to 60 degrees. 60 degrees uses the same triangle as 30. It's just set up a little different. Between the 60 and the 30, we still have a 2. Between the 60 and the right angle, we still have a 1. And between the 30 and the right angle, we still have a square root of 3. Once again, let's use our base. Oops, my bad about that bell. Let's use the base, the height, and the hypotenuse. So we have the base of 1, hypotenuse of 2, height of 3, hypotenuse of 2. And let's color code that up. We have now officially gotten all of our reference angles and their coordinates, which means we have the full first quadrant set up. Now the first quadrant, unofficially, I call it the reference quadrant. I don't think that's a real term, but we do refer to this quadrant. So let's use it to fill in everything in the unit circle. Now I already took the liberty to connecting all of our reference angles to the rest of the circle. One thing I'd like to remind us is the first quadrant, we have positive values. Positive x's, positive y's. In the second quadrant, our x's are negative, our y's are positive. In the third, they're both negative. In the fourth, the x's are positive, the y's are negative. Let's label, let's start with 30. Why not? For 30, we have the root 3 over 2, comma, 1 half. Let's put that for every angle that it references. So 150 is one of the angles that references 30. It's still going to have root 3 over 2, comma, 1 half. But since it's in quadrant 2, it gets a negative root 3 over 2. We're going to go down to the third quadrant, where both fractions will be negative. That's supposed to be a 1. Not a 7. There we go. Okay. And lastly, we have our fourth quadrant. Still the same values of the x's and y's, but in this case, our y is negative. So all of these coordinates are very much the same, except for the negatives and positives. All right, let's move on to 45. And yeah, the other day I mentioned that this is one of my favorites because it's in the middle, it's easy to see it everywhere. I also like its coordinates. I don't have to remember the order of them. So, let's look at all the angles that use 45 degrees as a reference, starting with 135. This is in quadrant 2, so our x is negative. Now let's do 225. This is in quadrant 3, so both of them are negative. How can I show? I need to do a little erase there. There we go, that's better. Now I can show that it's negative. Okay, and let's move on to the fourth quadrant, where our y will be negative. All right, we're almost done. All we have left is our 60 degree. I think I want to just separate this a little bit. There we go. All right, let's move on to 60 degrees. For 60 degrees, we have 1 half, comma, root 3 over 2. I'm going to take those same numbers and plop them here. I don't know what that mark is from. Let's fix it. So 1 half root 3 over 2. X is negative in the second quadrant. Oh, and we are on 240 degrees now. 1 half root 3 over 2. Both are negative because we're in the third quadrant. And lastly, 300 degrees. 1 half, comma, root 3 over 2. And our y is negative. And that's it. We have a fully filled in unit circle. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but we have a 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1 on those tops of the fractions, which is pretty cool. I like that pattern. I love patterns. We will be expecting you to be able to refer to this unit circle. I'm not asking you to memorize it. I'm asking you to be able to read it, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of the unit circle, is to be able to use it. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of whatever day it is for you. Bye.